Watch out, this podcast may contain adult content. We're brought to you today by Altered Reality Entertainment, the creators of Empire State Comic Con. Check it out at escomiccon.com. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to On the Case, Game of Thrones, an investigative television podcast brought to you by me and Casey. We're the guys for talking about Game of Thrones. It's, it's exciting, it's fun, and we're talking about all the living, breathing characters ahead of the final season. Casey, who are we talking about today?
We are talking about Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the Firstmen, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, Khaleesi of the Great Grassy, and
the Unburnt.
The Unburnt, and about a million other fucking titles.
I want you to know I'm so impressed with you actually going for it on the whole titles thing. That was pretty impressive. I gotta say, I gotta say, you really for being last minute, that was pretty impressive.
I'm no Missandei. She's got that shit down.
No, she's got it on lock. Yeah, she's got. Yeah. Jorah's also got it on lock too, because that's what he whispers to himself when he's
sad friend zone jerking it.
I was gonna say trying to flay the grayscale off himself. Woo.
That's
rough start here to the pod. So we're talking about Daenerys Stormborn. We would say probably our other one of our other main characters of the show. We did Jon last time. We're doing Daenerys now. We'll do Tyrion at some point later maybe. But where did we last see her?
Daenerys, the last time we saw her, I believe she was with Jon, having a very important meeting in her cabin on the boat, heading north.
Very, very important meeting about the war.
Diplomacy in general.
Or just a whole lot of diplomacy. Yeah, you're right.
More like diplomacy, but yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Cringy.
Oh
boy, yikes!
That's just
No. You're right. Yeah. It's like Khaleesi, my suggestion on the war is those clothes need to be on the ground. I'm with you on the same page.
Yeah. I'm going to bend the knee, but you going to bend that back real nice too, right? This is it goes both ways.
This is just the goldest of gold that we've had in a while. So which is really cool cuz Daenerys, cuz we've both been talking about recently the rewatch, cuz before we were kind of recapping characters just based off of our general love of them, our general knowledge of the show, and just things like that. But now that we're both kind of deep into the jumping around and watching the episodes, it's really cool to see Khaleesi grow from shrewd, maid, like a mare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just from this clear breeding tool for Viserys to the strongest, most badass person. Her eating the heart and staring Drogo in the eyes. Her kicking over the brazier in Vaisdothrak and burning up all those horse lords and taking all the Khalasar. Just every one of those little moments she has where she's tricking the dudes in Astaport, all this stuff that it's just wow, no one believes in her. And every single time she has that faith in herself. And you have Jorah being it makes no sense. He won't need dragon eggs in the Shadowlands. When she goes into the fire with it, and then the same thing. He denies her again. Even they're all just what are you doing? Don't sell your dragon. And she always has a plan. But it's weird to me that she never shares it with anyone. She doesn't have to give voice to it because she believes in it so much almost.
Yeah, I think that it's almost like a way for her to show that in her way, her most trusted advisor is herself, but also. She wants to trust the people that are giving her advice, and the advice they're giving her is super solid. She definitely a dragon is worth more than some Unsullied, and they were right to tell her not to do that deal. But they didn't know what she knew, which is that she was never going to give them the dragon, but that she needed them to be as concerned and into it and to sell it to the people that she's tricking as possible. But also, I think in that moment, she's looking at them and going, good, I trust them to tell me what I don't want to hear. In this time, I know something they don't. So my, what I'm going to do versus their advice is different, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. And it makes me trust them more. And I think it's kind of interesting how she does that a couple of times where she makes people she takes these leaps of faith. And for us, it seems crazy, but she knows something we don't, and she has this magical ability and this belief in herself, and she also has just a little bit of plot armor and a little bit of luck in some moments where, like, you know, Drogon's been gone forever, she's about to die in the fighting pits, and then he shows up for the first time all season. And
Oh yeah,
moments like that are really special, because I was just rewatching that episode, and if you notice, she closes her eyes like she's channeling something for like 3 or 4 seconds, and then you hear the screech come from the air and him burst out of the flames, and everyone's just like, holy shit. And it's like she's like so glad that he came, but he's also like, it's like almost like she summoned him, or like they have this spiritual connection. Like, she has elements to her that I think are unspoken.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like clearly we're getting into some of the top moments now. We've kind of transitioned into that. And I want to keep that one in mind, the moment where she closes her eyes there, because I actually want to throw that into the worst when we get there. But
Okay.
what everything you're saying is right. It's just like you actually made me realize this. It's just like a lot of her moments in the show. It's really cool that a lot of her best moments are actually not in the common tongue, and they're in either Valyrian or Dothraki. Because like I was thinking to myself, like, what are these top moments? What are the things? And a lot of the times, multiple times, it's her saying the word Dracarys, or like when she says Nemebitas in front of freaking Marine, and like they just like start like freaking chucking the stuff with the catapults. Like,
yeah,
and I'm just like, oh yeah, it's cool that like, yeah, like her speeches that she gives, like the first time about her son mounting and riding the world, that's in Dothraki. The speech that she gives the Unsullied about freeing themselves and fighting for themselves, that's in Valyrian.
The Kalasar speech, like, when she's on her dragon.
Yeah, like a lot of the time
So
she
good.
gets to make her speeches in another language, and that makes her wholly unique in this show. Like no one else is doing that, which is cool.
Yeah, like super worldly. Like she has
Mm-hmm.
seen more of the world, even though she's barely been to Westeros, than anyone else in the story, really. Maybe besides Euron, because he's been all over, but he's not as worldly as she is, in the way where she's a great, like, sort of diplomatic presence, and she's like tried to really dig in and understand the culture of everything, even cultures she doesn't quite find, savory or whatever. She tries to respect them as much as she can, absent of course slavery, which is she'll never be okay with. And I think those are the things that humanize her, is that she's willing to become more knowledgeable, to admit that she doesn't know everything, but that she wants people around her that will fill in those gaps for her, to make her like the perfect ruler. Like, she wants to be the perfect ruler. She doesn't want to be feared and loved. She wants peace and prosperity, and in moments the only way to get them is to be loved or to be feared. Like, there's the Misa moment where she's loved, and there's the burn them alive fucking moments where she's feared, because she tries things the nice way the first time, but when she gets resistance and she tries diplomacy and it fails, and then she tries just regular force, like having the Unsullied patrol the streets and things like that to get rid of the Sons of the Harpy, and that fails, then she's always got her family crest, fire and fucking blood, to fall back on. And when she does, it's some of the best moments of the show, but it's also kind of interesting because there's this weird background notion that she could become her father. Even though
okay. And you said this, that she's really learned how to rule. I think of anyone that she is probably the best suited to be the ruler, based off of the experience she's had in the show. Like, nothing, like, she's, like you said, she's worldly. She's had time to see different walks of life of people. So I think that, like, just from a building block standpoint, she probably has the best toolkit in which to rule. But you brought up,
I might argue
the
that
Mad
Jon
Queen
is a
thing.
little bit better. John's just a little bit better, because I would say this about Jon.
But Jon hasn't experienced that love and like accepted it and like been,
I think he did when he became King of the North. And I think what's interesting about Jon is he'll get like a big celebratory, like, they all love him for a minute moment, and then he'll make a decision that makes half or more of them hate him, and he still does it because it's the right thing. And like, they stab him and kill him. That would have never happened if he had fucking dragons. So it's like she's also been a little more safe than he has. You know what I mean?
True. Okay.
Like, way more safe.
Yeah.
And he's also had to conquer weird places like the wildlings and stuff, and make them.
So are we doing a count? Like, each one of them has had one assassin try and kill him. So like, Robert sent the assassin, and then freaking Jon tried to get assassinated by that dude Locke from the Bolton. Yeah. So like, are we going 1 for 1 here with these?
Yeah. I'm sure over her life she had many more, because they say that, but.
Yeah, just jumping in on some other top moments. I want to say definitely when she tells Dario, just like the dialect, like, and this is just all like a credit to Amelia Clark, like just like some of the times when whatever word she decides to put emphasis on is always just like really interesting to me because I think it's just an acting choice. But like when she says Dario, she's like, take off your clothes, and like just
Yeah.
the way that like that clothes like lingers, I'm
So
just
much
like, oh,
it's like Family
oh,
Guy. Like, why do you put so
okay.
much emphasis on the H?
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
weird.
no, but yeah, I really, so like a top moment for her, for me, well, also just her and Dario together in my brain just makes me happy. I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a hot pairing.
for sure.
But yeah, I was also gonna say, because Cersei has more like intimidating clothing, I was gonna say by far the best like fashion sense slash costume department stuff is definitely for me top moment. I'm just like, oh man, that dress is beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
She gets a
I'm all
different
on.
look almost every season, and it doesn't matter if
Yeah,
she's like about to be wed and looks very maidenish, or she's like the Khaleesi and she's wearing all the brown leather, or she's like season 6 Khaleesi with like the darker browner leather and like more like embellishments and like wrist guards and stuff. And then she obviously has the very iconic blue dresses and stuff that she wears a
yeah, I
lot in
like the
season
blue one
2
a
and
lot.
3. I feel like
Yeah.
that's my favorite kind of version is, and that's like probably my favorite moment of all of her moments. There's so many. I mean, she's been like the height of the season so many times. I mean, it's hard to beat when she comes out of the fire the first time with the dragons, because it's just like
Yeah.
she literally just took a leap of faith and brought magic that has been dead for hundreds of years back in the world. So it's probably her best moment. But my personal favorite moment is definitely that, a dragon is not a slave moment with crassness and his
Yeah.
fear and them slaying the masters. It's the first time she's freeing slaves. It's the first time she's really unleashing her dragons on someone besides like that small moment in the House of the Undying. And that shot where she faces the camera and she's got her brow kind of furrowed and the fire just goes across the ramparts behind her is literally one of the most perfectly and beautifully framed shots in the show.
Oh, it's badass.
And they
Oh, it's
use it for
badass.
every promo because it's so perfect. It encapsulates like her amazing strength in one shot.
Yeah, no, yeah. They're like, hey guys, remember that time Game of Thrones was dope?
Yeah,
Here, let's remind you.
all the
Yeah,
time.
like,
But yeah,
yeah,
for
that's
sure.
it's a great shot.
And she has had beautiful. I mean,
Um,
especially like when she comes to Westeros, like that snowsuit. Give me a break. That shit is
it's fire.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah,
fire. It's fire.
it's ice
fire.
and fire.
I mean, I
Oh,
know it's designed. Blah. I know it's designed to keep her warm, but that
yeah.
shit's fire. Like, I'm all in on that
It
friggin'
looks amazing.
snowsuit, man. Yeah. So like for me, from a fashion standpoint, I just think that she has had by far the best like clothing department, like
Well, it's also
just
because she's
straight
been
up,
around
just
so
like
many
they're doing
different
work.
cultures. Like Cersei's dressed like King's
Oh
Landing.
yeah,
Marjorie looks great, but she's dressed like King's Landing. Most people are dressed because it's fucking freezing somewhere in like the north. And then she gets to be in a warm place, and she gets to go to Karth, and she gets to go to the Dothraki Sea, and she gets to go to all these different major cities, and all of them have different like little changes. And I remember in the books it was really interesting because when she goes to Karth, like the fashion thing is like for women to like wear where one breast is hanging out, and I think she like tries it and doesn't like it or refuses or something like that. And that was one part where like it made sense why they didn't do it in the show, obviously, but it was like interesting because in the book she's always trying to fit in where she goes because she wants to be like a woman of the people, a ruler of the people.
yeah, part of the
She doesn't
culture.
want
Yeah,
to just
yeah,
be
yeah.
larger than life. She wants to also make people feel like she respects them and wants to be, with them emotionally, spiritually. You know,
I didn't tell you this, but I'm making a bold choice. I'm gonna start wearing one breast out everywhere I go. Like, just try it out.
I think that'd be a good choice. Although you're in Boston now, so it's pretty cold out there, champ. You're gonna have to
Yeah,
watch out.
yeah. One of my milk teats just hanging out. Yeah. Okay, so do you have any other top moments for
I
Daenerys?
mean,
Like, are we missing
obviously too many to
anything?
count. I really love when John shows her the cave paintings where the dragon's glass is, and she
Yeah,
finally
that's a
sees
good one.
proof of it, and she like agrees to like finally meet him halfway because she's just been like bend the knee, bend the knee, bend the knee since he's been there, and that shit's rough, dude. Like it was like kind of like annoying. I was like, dude, like someone has to break here. Like someone has to be a little like you have to see the good in him, and she had to come halfway, and then obviously when like that choice leads to her choice to go north, and there's huge ramifications there. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that moment between him and her, where he's like, "You see, I'm not fucking crazy," and I think that's when he bends the knee to her, right? Or no, he bends the knee on the boat afterwards.
Later.
But it's kind of like
Yeah.
when he emotionally bends the knee, like he hasn't quite done it, but they both like have this like moment where, okay, now I understand you, and I understand that like it's bigger than me and you.
This
Yeah.
is real. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or I'm starting to believe you more. I was gonna say with her, I really liked you brought up the bend the knee thing, and I've always really liked the moment where she gives Yara the Iron Islands, and like Tyrion's like, "Hey, if you do this deal for them," and she's like, Everyone else can ask," but like she was like she was surprisingly not bend the knee with Yara, and that was kind of cool, especially because like it was clear that Theon was ceding his power, and they were like vibing on that we had bad dads like thing.
I think it
So
was
I
because
don't know.
that was
I
like
just
a
I've
first.
always really liked that
Yeah, that was
Yara
like a
moment.
first
Yeah, that
woman that
Yara
was going to
moment.
rule the Iron Islands, and she was like, "I'm super in on that. Like, if I can help make that happen, let's make that happen."
Also, just like a dumb one, just like top moment for me, like when Missandei's like talking to her about Grey Worm, and she's just like, "Oh, he was interested," and like just the face Daenerys makes, like I feel like it was Amelia Clark making a face and not
Yeah,
Daenerys. Like
their girl
it just
talk
it makes me
moment.
laugh. I'm always just like,
So fun.
yeah, 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 yeah. Just like, girl, oh, girl, he was interested. Like, yeah, like that's like the one time like where I think the acting
Yeah.
breaks a little bit in the show, and I just like goofily like I love the
I'll say
face that
one
she
last
makes.
one is because there's so many good moments where she's talking to another person and she's very powerful. Like I love when like the Titan's bastard's being a dick, and she's like, "Kill that one first, Sir Barristan." He's like, "Gladly." But the one I was gonna mention is in Dragonstone, when she's meeting with all these powerful women like Olenna and the Sand Snakes and stuff, and Yara, and then Tyrion's there, and like they're all kind of bickering, and she's listening and she's saying things, and it's just like this really interesting moment because she's finally in Westeros. She's finally kind of playing the Game of Thrones for real now. And
Mm,
I
mm.
love that she pulls Olenna aside to get extra kind of FaceTime with her, because she could tell that like cutting through all the young
She
people
was
that
the
like,
wisest.
this is the person I want to grow up to be like. Like, and I don't think she's ever met a woman like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in her
yeah.
life. So to see that, and to not just like be like, "Oh, well, I'm great too," and to take like a little bit of humility for her to go out of her way to make sure that she listens to Olenna extra was really, I think, a good character moment for her, like low key. Like people don't talk about it, but I'm like, think about it. How many times is Daenerys like, like not super full of herself, and in that moment she wasn't, and that was, I think, one of the best moments for her as a leader.
No, I agree. I agree. Definitely.
So
So we got to pivot into
worst
the worst moments
moments.
now.
Um,
I don't think there's going to be too many of them. I want to start with putting those dragons in, like chaining up the
yeah,
dragons. Like that's for me. That's just like a crap move, and like maybe ultimately that leads to one of the dragons being pregnant because all those dragons had to do in there was get it on,
maybe,
and like there's some dragon eggs in one of those
maybe.
babies, or you know what I mean. There's some dragon eggs that are left in that cell
That's
that are ready to
interesting.
hatch or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, like because like what else were they doing in there,
yeah,
right?
just eating and being dark. I think, yeah, a lot of her worst moments are with the dragons. I mean, obviously Viserion's death, heartbreaking for us and her,
Yeah.
and then also like when she
Mm-hmm.
comes back in Karth and her dragons are gone, and she's like, "Where the fuck are my dragons?" for like 3 episodes. That was
Yeah, when
really, I was stressed for her. I was like, "Dude, those are fucking priceless, and they're not even strong enough to fight off someone right now. Like, what the fuck is she gonna do?"
yeah. And it's funny how we like determine like worst moments. Just like, is it a worst moment for the audience to have to watch this, for the character to go through? You know, we kind of like fluctuate between the two. But like, for me, I'm always just like mad at her when, uh, like all the dragon based stuff. So like when Drogon like eats the freaking kid, and then
Oh
like I'm
yeah,
just like,
the
oh
burned
man,
corpse in front of
like
her.
it's like, yeah, yeah. What do you do to your child when it just murdered
Yeah.
a child? Like,
I think it's interesting because a lot of her best moments and worst moments have to do with her dragons. Like having a dragon
yeah,
lost
oh yeah,
or do something horrible, or you can't tame them, so you have to do something about it, like locking them up. All horrible. And then obviously when they're born, amazing. When they kill the warlock and Karth, amazing. When they kill Krasnus, amazing. When they go nuts when she brings Drogon to the wagon wheel party in the middle of Westeros, that was freaking
mm-hmm.
amazing. Roasting all those Lannister men. super cool. But yeah, I mean, like as far as
But then it's a worse moment because she kind of leans into that Mad Queen thing, or the thing where
yeah,
like you're like maybe Tyrion did make a deal with Cersei that you've kind of
yeah,
theorized about, because like that's the moment where he realized, oh no, she's just gonna burn these
yeah,
houses if I don't keep her in check, kind of thing. So yeah, like that lends some
and it's
evidence to your
interesting
thing that
too.
maybe that was a turning point for Tyrion, because
Yeah,
that's a worse moment. She didn't have to
yeah,
burn those
when like
dudes.
Tyrion's telling her to show like compassion, and then Olenna's saying,
Mm-hmm.
"You're a dragon, be a dragon," and both of them are valid. Like she has one thing that no one
Yeah.
else has, and Aegon didn't shed a fucking tear when he roasted thousands of fucking people to make the Seven Kingdoms. You
Nah,
know what I mean? Like
not one tear when Harrenhal
hell
went up in
no. He's like,
flames.
look at these fucking lords thinking they're invincible. I'm about to humble this entire fucking continent, and he did. And him and his wives, you know, and it's crazy. Like she has to have some of that, but these are people that also we care about. If she was just heartless to people we cared
Yeah.
about, then it'd be different. So you know, like if she wants to roast, you know, Sam's dick dad, then like fuck him. I don't care. I don't like Randall Tarley. But if she was gonna do that to like I don't know, the entire city of King's Landing. And we've already sort of made Jamie a good guy instead of a bad guy because he saved those fucking people and took the shame of killing his king for like decades. Then we have to kind of, by that logic, hate her if she burns the whole fucking city down, just like her dad was going to do. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
thin line that she has to walk.
There's a lot there. It's nuanced for real. I think we did miss in the top section. We missed two things because I was so focused on how a lot of her best speeches are like in English, or sorry, in like not English or
Yeah,
not the common tongue. But we there's two lines that I forgot to bring up. So the of course the break the wheel speech. Like
very
I'm not
iconic.
gonna
Yeah.
yeah, very iconic. And then the also the I will answer injustice with justice. Like that speech is
Yeah,
pretty
and I
good too.
love when she throws all those crates with the, you know, like what a beautiful way to show that like fuck slavery, like they crucified all those people.
Yeah, man. She yells out
Yeah.
Nemebitas, man.
Well,
It's
and
my
like and the
jam.
fact that she took the time to make sure to give all of them proper burials and take their collars so that she could do that, so that she could send a message to the people that
Oh
she
yeah,
cares about in the city, not the masters, the people who have been, you know, mercilessly, you know, hurt and crucified and stuff.
jerks.
Like
Yeah.
we need those people on our side, and it's beautiful. Like it's kind of interesting. There's two groups in Game of Thrones where it's the small people rising up because they have numbers. It's the slaves in Slaver's Bay because of Daenerys granting them freedom, and it's the sparrows. And it's so funny how we hate one but we love the other because they stand for similar things but not the same thing, and they go about it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they're
True.
both
True.
going
True.
after
True.
quote unquote the masters. If you think about it, they're both bringing the royal people down to their level and humbling them. It's just that, you know, the fact that it's happening to masters we don't care about in Yunkai and shit, and it's happening to people in King's Landing we do care about. That's the difference, you know. And one's a religious thing and one's a freedom thing. So it's like human spirituality versus just the human condition itself, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, no, no. You're right. You're right. It's interesting with Daenerys. I think of all of the characters, like we're supposed, like it's like clear that we're supposed to be rooting for her. Like she's like one of the characters they set out from the outset as, look at how terrible her brother's treating her. Look at her having to be ravaged by this foreign, or this, you know, this
Warlord. Yeah.
savage man kind of thing. Yeah, warlord. Yeah. So it's like she's clearly from the beginning of the series set up as someone that we are supposed to be rooting for. But I think that the show has done a great, in the books, obviously as the foundation for this, have done a great job of giving us those reasons and sprinkling them throughout. And actually, like, because can you remember a time that you were actually really disappointed in Daenerys, other than like the maybe the locking up the dragons thing, where you're just like, oh,
You know, when you
Daenerys,
look
womp
back, it's like
womp.
hard because
Like,
some of her decisions are so obviously like feel like it's emotionally driven and not logically driven. Like, and so like I would say, you know, in the first season, she has one really bad moment or series of moments where she trusts, you know, Miri Mazdur,
oh,
and
Miri's
then she
Mazdur,
has
yeah.
a really great moment because you just brought up Viserys, where she finally stands up to Viserys, and I love that moment for her
Mm.
because no one's there like raising her up, but they have been, and he hates it. And she stands up for herself in that moment with no backup, and he just looks like petrified. Like, and it just shows his
Oh yeah.
cowardice, and it shows how her strength.
Yo, credit to
He
that
was
actor, by the
amazing.
way. He did a lot with a little. Yeah, he did a lot
Yeah.
with a little time in the show. He
I've
really
actually
made a
heard
big
several of
impact.
the
Can I
actors
toss
like said that
another?
like if they could bring one actor back, that anyone who worked with him said he's phenomenal. Like he would be great. I think he'd be a good like X-Men villain in another universe. He could be so good. He just has
Yeah,
that
yeah,
look.
yeah. So, oh, like
Oh,
Mr.
so
Sinister kind
good.
of style.
Yes. Anyone like
All right, so I want to throw another worst moment at you, and this is just like from a poor planning
yeah.
standpoint. Like if I'm the coach, I'm like, yo, that was a bad play to call. Daenerys when she's like, yo, I'm gonna send the last four of my loyal like um protector. You know,
Blood Riders
what is it when it's your blood riders?
in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
opposite
So
directions.
I'm gonna send in opposite directions. So not only am I gonna leave us open to an attack if someone does come to us, I'm gonna send our only like four good fighters, all off in different directions. But like also, there's going to be a 1 out of 4 success rate for these homies. Like that was just a bad play to
Yeah.
call.
So
Like,
another bad play she called was when that one dude killed one of the harpies after they wanted to question him more, and she asked him not to, and he did it because he loved her so much, and he was like the dude that like Grey Worm like specifically connected with
oh
when they were
yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah,
overthrow
yeah.
them.
The leader of like
Yeah.
the
And then
slave.
she publicly kills him, and they all
Yeah,
start
yeah.
hissing at her. I'm like, dude, in that moment, I'm like, you fucked up a little bit there, bitch. Like,
Yeah, that was a
not
bad
good.
play. Yeah, yeah. Coach, run
Yeah.
that back. Run
Can we
that
get a
back.
do over,
Let's not do
please?
the.
I didn't know they were gonna hit.
Can we
Why
not
are
get
they
the kill your
hissing?
own subject
What's
one?
going on? It's bad.
It's like yeah, it's a hiss defense. That's what it is.
I
Not
was
press.
like,
It's
dude, this
hiss.
is bad. I was like, this sounds. I don't like snakes, and I don't like whatever's happening right now. This is bad.
All right, so let's roll into her happy ending. What's
Oh
Daenerys' happy
man, I
ending?
mean, her and John on the Iron Throne. Their kid is born healthy. The prophecy's not right, and they defeat the White Walkers and they kill Cersei, and everything's good, good, good. Just like it won't happen, but that's the happiest ending, obviously.
Bro, you're messing up. It's when the sun sets in the east and the
She
moon
gets
rises
called
in the
Drogo back.
west. And when the winds
You're
blow through,
such a
yeah,
fool.
exactly. It's zombie Drogo comes back and he's the second coming of the Night King. He's
Oh
the Day
God,
King.
yeah, that's horrible. But I would watch
I
Zombie
know.
Drogo versus Zombie Mountain like all day long with a bucket of popcorn. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. It's clearly that's the happy ending. It's friggin' Momoa gets to be back on the show, and then it's just a whole
I
nother
think
season of
that's what's great about
that.
her and John being together is that they have both deeply, deeply loved someone else. Like I think at first it starts like as
But
an arranged marriage, and then she grows to really love Khal Drogo, and I think him and
oh
obviously
yeah,
Ygritte have this beautiful connection that changes him as a person, shows him another side of the world, and makes him feel alive in a way he's never felt and accepted it like in a way he's never been accepted. And then so they both have to
yep.
lose those people, and they have either a fling or two or the option of one, and they turn it down, and then they find each other, and something just seems so right about it, and it's because it's literally in their blood. And people like to dog shit on the Targaryen you know um lineage because of the incest, but it's not like the Lannister incest. And I'm not gonna like try and like say incest is great, but there's one reason. If you read the fucking books, just
What a
saying, if you
take!
read the
What a
books,
take!
there is a logical reason for their incest, and it's because their blood is magical. They have a connection to
Yeah,
dragons, and some of them, like Daenerys, can be completely immune to fire and shit like that. And
which is
and
crazy.
so if you think about it that way, them keeping their bloodlines sort of pure makes more sense. And it's not just because, oh, we're great and we only are attracted to each other, but it's like this magical quality that's in their veins that sort of compels them that way. And it has a reason. Like they might both be, dragon riders because they can have that bond. Not everyone can do that. And that's also why some people think Tyrion might be Targaryen, which we'll get into on Tyrion's episode. But um, yeah,
Can I ask you an off the board question just real fast
of
before we get to
course.
sad endings? Off the board question is that like let's say that like the happy ending that you just described there kind of does happen, that it's John
Yeah.
and Daenerys on the throne. Like, do they keep having their kids hump it out? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so like let's say John and Daenerys have like 5 kids. Do they keep breeding within Targaryen, or do they go back to the way of the world and they don't have the
Maybe
incest?
they I mean, I don't think they do right away, but like maybe they they let their family tree kind of grow out its roots again, and then it's an option if they want it. But I think it makes more sense to breed them with Starks.
Because I'm just saying, like you said, the magical blood thing. Yeah, exactly. The magical blood thing. You say like it's just like maybe they should only breed within the family to keep
Well, think about
the
it this way. Think about it
dragon
this
juice
way. There's only
going.
one other family we know of that has magic in their bloodline, and it's because they have the blood of the old men or the first men, and it's the fucking Starks and their warging abilities. So if you think about it, Jon isn't a diluted Targaryen. He's an enhanced Targaryen because he has warging abilities in the books, not in the show. He also has
Oh,
this
you're right.
connection.
You're right. He's got Targaryen
Yeah,
magic
he
blood
has the
and
connection
Stark
to the
magic.
first men, to
Gotcha.
the children of the forest, and now with the fucking Targaryens. So if those are all the magical elements that make Westeros and the rest of the world sort of what it
Can
is.
can I give you a new happy ending now
Go.
based
I
off of
love it.
that? Jon and Daenerys, they have a little baby girl. Some wonderful girl up in the north decides to ride Bran like he's a tree and get impregnated with his baby. And then that's a boy. And that boy and that girl, they then have a baby. And that baby is
Oh,
Harry
Jesus
Potter.
Christ. You have me till Harry Potter.
Because he's so mad. He's got the three-eyed raven magic.
The
He's got
Targaryen
the
stuff. Yeah. No, but yeah, thanks for trying. Moving on.
I like how you were just like hard
Yeah.
pass, like just incredible
No.
stuff there. Good stuff. Good choice. Good choice. That was a smart hard pass
I
by
like the
you.
play though.
Okay, so sad endings for Danny.
Honestly, I think there's a chance that she could be the Nisa to Jon Azor Ahai, and she has to sacrifice herself in a way where he can create Lightbringer by plunging his sword through her heart. It's very possible. There's only a few other candidates that make sense. It could be the Red Woman because there's a lot of foreshadowing in that with her heart, being hot and her always being warm and stuff like that. But
yeah, and like the sigil that she makes freaking Stannis carry after the freaking fact it's the freaking
there's
flaming
even a
heart
quote
thing. Yeah,
from the books where Jon is next to her and he says that her smell reminds him of Micken's forge. Like there's some very very interesting heavy-handed foreshadowing, but Game of Thrones gives us a lot of foreshadowing, and not all of it leads somewhere. And it also loves to rip our fucking proverbial hearts out of our chests. So would I be sad if the Red Woman died? No. Would it be dope? Yes. Would I be sad and it'd be dope if Daenerys had to be Nisa? Yes. So either one is an option, and one seems a bit more Game of Thrones, if you will. You know what I mean? So that would be a pretty sad ending. Losing her kid would be really sad. Losing all of her dragons would be really sad. Honestly, just at this point where the Night King in the impending doom coming down on Winterfell, there are too many sad endings for me to even explain all of them. But obviously, anything where her end is short of getting the fucking Iron Throne is going to be horrible to watch, because she has been on a mission from day one, and she has earned it with so many sacrifices and so much turmoil and so much hard work and destiny and like these big amazing moments. Like if they led to anything less than her sitting on that fucking throne, or at least being with Jon while he does, then I don't know what we're even doing anymore. Like I'm just gonna be devastated for her.
yeah. Like I don't know. Like in my head, I'm just like Daenerys is the main character
I
of
think
the
Jon
show, so I can't see a world where and yeah, it's good. It's fine that we disagree on that. It's just that I can't see a world where she doesn't win and Drogon doesn't either melt down the Iron Throne with his fire or turn that thing into a chew toy and just like, hey Daenerys, and like bites it and like tosses it across the room. He's like, yeah, let's play fetch with the Iron Throne. Like
If she wants
I
to
just
break
can't see
the
it.
wheel, that'd be the best place to start. Melt that bitch down and start over with a diplomatic approach, and have everyone have their wisest people, like have the maesters be like diplomatic instead of just like caretakers and stuff like that, or something like that, or people can elect them. But yeah, I want to see her, if she doesn't get the Iron Throne but she helps Jon get it, because there's like all that imagery of like, oh, she almost gets to the throne but she doesn't, and then it's covered in snow. Like there's a lot of interesting imagery there. But think of it this way: if she knew that she got Jon to be the king, the rightful king of Westeros, and even if she didn't, even if she died in childbirth or in battle or something, and she knew that was going to happen, I think she'd be happy, because in a way, she still fixed Westeros and she still saved the world. Like her sacrifice would be
Mm-hmm.
one of the best sacrifices in cinematic history. So at least it'd be worth it.
It sounds like you kind of jumped ahead to like the sad ending because that sounded like a sad, sad one for me.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Let's talk about if she's Azor Ahai.
I don't think
she might be.
She might be Azor Ahai. You're right. No, I was just gonna say that when it comes to her for a sad ending, like I don't. And I think this is where we differ. I can't picture a sad ending for her because I think she's going to be the one that wins the Game of Thrones. And like, it's called a Game of Thrones. They didn't call it a Song of Ice and Fire. And I know Game of Thrones is a better name, but I just think if, Cersei's like, you win or you die, or like, there's been so much, I think someone has to win. And I think Dany has to be on the throne.
If she has to be on the throne, then why spend all this time building up the perfect heir, the perfect person that's the rightful heir that has a better claim than her and who we also love equally, if not more than her?
Because the homie Jon doesn't want it. He just doesn't want it.
I think that the fact that he doesn't want it makes him better suited for it, in a way.
All right. Boo. And I see what you mean. No, you're right.
He didn't want to be King of the North, but he also will not stand by while things aren't going right.
Look, I know you're right. But I'm swerving.
Well,
I'm swerving.
That's why the best ending is both of them being there, because they both deserve it, and they would both be great rulers. And we've seen that sometimes she'll need him to be the voice of reason.
You know what the real sad ending is? That we all think that it is going to be the two of them ruling and just like super, super exciting and happy. And she just like praying mantises him in the bedroom and like murders him during and then takes the throne for herself because she wants the claim. Like, that's the,
like she,
that's
like
the
he
incredible
rides
one.
Rhaegal and kills the Night King, and she's like, and everyone's cheering. She's like, bitch, you wouldn't even have that dragon form from me. I fucking hate this shit. Like, why is there another? I thought I was the last dragon.
Plots to kill him. Yeah. The show ends with how it began with like freaking Jon getting like Jon Arryn got poisoned to start the show, so Jon Snow getting poisoned to end it would be great.
Gets, like, they're making love in the tower, and then she like, the things I do for the throne, and kicks him out. Tosses
him out. He's like, hey Jon, tonight I want to try something on the balcony. Okay, honey.
Why am I facing away from you? This is yeah, no good. And then Ghost is down there looking.
Yeah, okay. Azor Ahai. Hit me with the Azor Ahai.
Lines up with Azor Ahai as far as the wording of the prophecy may be better than anyone else in the show, because she's Stormborn. She was born amongst salt and smoke. That makes total sense. Salt when she's born as Daenerys Stormborn, and then smoke when she's reborn as the mother of dragons. She wakes dragons from stone, obviously, at the end of the first book, and it's almost too perfect. I mean, she's of the royal bloodline. She's done these amazing things, and I've never really broken down how you could make the whole forging of Lightbringer work for her, as far as like forging it in water, it doesn't work. Forging it in a lion's heart, it doesn't work. Forging it in the love of your life's heart, and it works. And then Lightbringer, the only thing I can think of there is, the water killing something. It could be her mom, and then the lion killing something. Maybe that's the Lannisters killing her family when, in King's Landing, when they overthrow. And honestly, it could be Jaime killing her dad. And then it could be that when she sacrifices Drogo, that's the Nissa moment for her, and that Lightbringer is Drogon or the collective dragons, and that would make sense, I guess. Now that I'm breaking it down, I just made it work. But anyway, if you put all those things together,
I like how you talked yourself into what it should be. That's funny.
But, she fits better than anyone else. It's just that Jon is the Song of Ice and Fire. She doesn't have ice in her blood like him, and it's called the Song of Ice and Fire. That's the saga, that's the books, that's what we've been building for, the prince that was promised. And yes, it could be the prince or princess who was promised, but I think that they're only putting that in there to make it just a little more interesting, so it's not too obvious, because the last 2 seasons have ended with a big moment showing A, who Jon's parents are, and then B, that he is a legitimate Targaryen with a Targaryen name and the rightful heir to the Seven Kingdoms. And I think all those things make him just seem like the one that will be Azor Ahai, and also there's a lot of imagery with Longclaw. Longclaw and him are so synonymous with each other, and it's also his connection with his wolf is embodied in the hilt of the weapon. So they've shown so many moments, like when he falls in the ice beyond the wall, and Longclaw's sitting there on the ice, and then his hand reaches out and grabs Longclaw and claws his way out of the water. There's so many moments like that. I can't imagine her having a weapon of that sort, unless it's like I just said, like a metaphorical weapon, and it's Drogon, and it's been Drogon the whole time. So,
yeah,
but I'd love
no,
it if she did
I
end
can
up
get
being
with it.
Azor
I can
Ahai.
get with it.
I would cheer for her. I would be super happy. But if it's Jon, then I'd be like dope, because I've always wanted to see him 1v1 the Night King with Longclaw or any other sword becoming Lightbringer. I mean, that's just the visual that I feel will be like the Luke Vader I'm your father like fighting Bespin moment. Like, it will be the biggest, most important.
It's the
Yeah,
Thor coming in
it's
with
the holy
Stormbreaker.
shit, it's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
happening.
like
All these myths, all these, all this lore and this prophecy, and it's finally fulfilled, and it's him. And I wanted it to be him, and now it is, and like that will be so satisfying. So, but like I said, if it's her, then it's also very earned. It's just a different route, and I'm sure they'll make it awesome and epic, and they'll probably fill in the backstory a little bit of how it lines up just right. Because even Melisandre's confused. Melisandre thinks it's Stannis, and then she thinks it's Jon, and then Kinvara thinks that it's Daenerys. So the Red Priestesses that are like the highest ones we've ever seen, as far as knowledge base, like they're not really sure. But either one would be a beautifully, perfectly fit champion for for life and for people. So.
all right. Well, then I was gonna say, do you have any other theories
Besides the Nisa stuff where she could get killed that way? I don't. I think that there's the whole dragon has three heads thing is still bothering me, because now we don't have another dragon rider.
Books. I mean, a dragon the Night King is the third dragon rider.
He
What if
could
that
be.
dude's a
I mean, he
Targaryen?
can
Oh
look
my god. Yep.
Un-Targaryen, but I think it makes more sense if he's a Stark. And then like if Tyrion
True.
is a Targaryen, I think it'd be kind of weak sauce to throw that in at the last minute now.
Nah, I think book
Yeah.
Tyrion's probably a Targaryen. Show Tyrion's probably not.
Yeah,
That's just how I think it's gonna roll.
That sucks.
And then that's a cool thing for the books
Sure.
to do and keep
I
out
also
of the
think
show.
Varys
Like
is a
I think
Targaryen.
that's
he's been, I think he got sacrificed his bits because he has king blood, and I think he shaves his head to hide his hair.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Blackfire, Blackfire Targaryen. No, I'm with you. Okay, so then as always, I think that brings us to the end here. Other than like Mad Queen stuff, or like, you know what? Let me ask you, what's the percentage you think that the Mad Queen, that Daenerys goes the way of the Mad King? Like, what do you think the percentage chance on that happening is? Is it 0? Is it
really
10?
heartbreaking?
Is it 5?
And when you said that, I just thought of like the Frodo at Mount Doom moment, where like you're like, you son of a bitch, when he goes nasty, and he
Sam.
like goes, no, the ring's
yeah,
mine, and like they're finally
yeah.
fucking there, and everyone's about to die, and I'm like, you piece of shit, and I fucking turned on him so bad. Like, if that happened with Daenerys, how heartbroken would people be? But like, they have said there is one major twist coming. We got Hold the Door, we got Shireen Baratheon getting burned, and there's still one major twist. Now, it might have to do with Bran or the Night King. It might have to do with something like that. And if it was, holy shit, that would flip everything on its head. But the only thing I would hate about it is it would make the rewatch really shitty, because you're rooting for her for so long, and then she does that. I would be really upset. Like, and not in like a, oh, cool, you got me at the last moment. That makes sense with the character. What a great end to the story. I'm so glad I was shocked. I'd be like, then why the fuck did you make me love her so much, for that long? And make her so trying to be good.
Yeah, I gotcha.
If you're just going to ruin her.
And maybe that could be another one of those, the book show differences, that like book Daenerys doesn't go mad, but they do that on the show. Because I think there's going to be some clear differences between the two, and obviously because there's different characters involved, but just I think that there's going to be more.
And I think the moments
like
where she's been weak and like had to use force or fire force or something like that, I think it will eventually just be growing pains. I mean, when she starts in the book, she's 14 fucking years old. You know what I mean? And they can't do that in the show, so I think they made her 17. True. Made her and Jon 17. but she's young, and I think anyone with that amount of power that quickly would make mistakes, and I think she's owned her mistakes, and I think that she's learned from most of them. So I don't think she'll go full Mad Queen, but God, holy shit. I mean, it
Hey,
could
man,
also
who
be
knows?
like her and Cersei both have the capacity to, if the Night King's only thing he's after is a Night Queen, how crazy would it be if she was chosen as that and so had to sacrifice herself in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's no White Walker women as far as we know, so that could be the one thing he needs to, like,
True.
I don't know, fulfill his destiny, and like maybe all the magic goes away or some sort of like truce or something. That's all possible. Everything. That's the craziest part about the show. Is everything is fucking possible. Everything.
Everything's on the
Bringing
table.
back
Everything's
Ned Stark.
on the table.
Ned Stark was
yeah.
actually
No, I feel you.
Cyril Farrell, and like they switched places in the dungeons, and he was actually Jack and Nagar and training art. Like anything's possible. It might be kind of outlandish, and maybe if it comes to that point, you'd be a little irritated that it came out that way.
You're just making me want to scream like Kevin Garnett and just be like, anything is possible. Yeah, you're just making me want to. Okay, so we could talk about Daenerys literally forever, and this is the longest episode we've ever done. So what I'm going to say is, as always, the show is brought to you by Altered Reality Entertainment. They are the creators of Empire State Comic-Con. Go check it out at escomiccon.com. It's a fun time at a convention. You should check it out. Comic-Con. It's a comic convention. Empire State Comic-Con. It's going to be cool stuff.
Next time
Casey,
is our
who we
last
talking about next
character
time?
on our character roundup we've been doing, and it's Tyrion Lannister, saving the
Tyrion of House Lannister
for last.
Imp the half man.
We'll fight it.
Half man. Okay.
I'm Shagger.
We'll pot if the half man pots.
Like
We'll see you next time, guys.
Great endorsement, Dolph. Son of
You're Casey, son of McKnight.
I'm looking forward to Tyrion.
All right. So we'll talk to you guys soon. See you. Goodbye.